Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. In today's video, I'll be doing my 2023 NFL Top 10 Big Board. Before we get started, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 80 subscribers by the end of the year. And also, I'm sorry I haven't been posting. I haven't posted in the last week. I've just been really busy with school, and also I was sick for part of last week. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for announcements, and let's get straight into the video. Number 10 here, I have Michael Mayer, Notre Dame. His 2022 season stats were 67 receptions, 809 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. He is a very big, great tight end. He is a true seam stretcher down the field. And yeah, he's drawing comparisons to Rob Gronkowski. And yeah, I feel like that is a really accurate comparison for the way he plays. He's a very physical tight end, and that's very similar to how Rob Gronkowski played. So I feel like he is the best tight end in this year's draft class. Probably the most sure thing at tight end to be the best one in the class. And yeah, has great athleticism, has great production, and yeah, I feel like he's going to translate really well to the NFL. Number 9 here, I have Anthony Richardson out of Florida. 2022 season stats, 2,549 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 53.8% completion percentage, 713 yards rushing, and 9 rushing touchdowns. While these stats might not be the best, it's really just the traits that really and athleticism that stand out with this player. He has an incredible arm. He has incredible athleticism. When you're drawing comparisons to guys like Josh Allen, you know he's the real deal. Even though his stats aren't great and he's definitely going to need some refinement, he has the highest ceiling out of any quarterback in this draft class. And yeah, with the right development, I feel like he can turn into a future All-Pro and yeah, be the best out of any quarterback in this draft class. While this might take a couple years to fully develop him and get him to his true potential, I feel like the payout will be incredible for whichever team drafts him. And yeah. Anyways, next to number 8. Number 8, I have Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. His 2022 season stats, 33 total tackles, 3 interceptions, and 14 pass deflections. This is some incredible statistics from a guy who, in my opinion, is the best cornerback in this year's draft class. In my opinion, I feel like he can turn into a future All-Pro. I really like the physicality he plays with. And yeah, he's one of my favorite players in this year's draft. A really hard-hitting, great run support cornerback, as well as playing with an incredible physicality that will translate really well to the NFL. I really would like to see him play for the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell. I feel like with him and Dan Campbell, he can definitely match his energy. And I feel like he can turn into a future All-Pro shutdown cornerback. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. And yeah, next on to number 7. Number 7, edge Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. His 2022 season stats, 36 total tackles, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. While these stats might not be jumping off the page, again, it's very similar to a guy like Anthony Richardson. While they don't play different positions and aren't even on the same side of the ball, they have really, really good traits that will translate really well to the NFL. Looking at Tyree Wilson, he's 6'6", 275 pounds with great athleticism, very long, explosive athlete, which will translate really well to the NFL. I feel like with some refinement in his pass rushing game, he can be an incredible player, and yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes. Number 6, I have Myles Murphy out of Clemson. Very similar to Tyree Wilson, in which his stats aren't jumping off the page at you. But the big thing here is he is another long, explosive playmaker. Very similar to Tyree Wilson at 6'5", 270. But yeah, maybe a little smaller, and his stats might not be better, but did play in the ACC played in a big conference. And yeah, I feel like he doesn't play with them as much as consistency I'd like from a big-time player. But his traits, again, if he can get some refinement in his game and get a little healthier and get some more consistency in his game, he can truly develop into a true number 1 edge rusher. And yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes, and I feel like he can be drafted inside the top 10 or 15. Number 5 here, I have quarterback C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. His 2022 season stats: 3,668 yards passing, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 66.8% completion percentage. Those are some great stats from a guy who many believe is either the number one or number two quarterback in this draft class. For me, he's a number two. I feel like Bryce Young is a little bit better than him. C.J. Stroud is just a true pocket passer. Drawing comparisons to Jared Goff with the way he plays, but I feel like C.J. Stroud will be much better than him. In my opinion, he has the highest floor out of any quarterback in this year's draft. At the very least, you're getting a guy who's going to start for you and not going to turn over the ball too much and play with consistency. But at his ceiling, he could become one of the best pocket passers or passers in general in the NFL. I'm excited to see where he goes, and definitely a top 10 sure thing quarterback. Number 4, I have defensive tackle Jalen Carter out of Georgia. The reason he isn't higher is because he did get put on charges for reckless driving that resulted in a teammate of his being killed in a car crash. So, yeah, definitely major charges against him that will definitely decrease his draft stock. Maybe even falling outside the top 10. I don't think that will happen, though, but I definitely feel like that will impact his draft stock heavily. And, right now he is at the combine doing interviews and stuff like that, but this is definitely going to impact his draft stock and probably bump him down a couple spots. And that'll probably give Will Anderson the number one to be the top defensive player in this year's draft. I feel like he has incredible potential. Maybe not the greatest stats here, but another guy who has incredible strength, incredible athleticism that will translate really well to the NFL. Number 3, I have Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. His 2022 season stats: 258 rushing attempts, 1,580 yards rushing, 18 rushing touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry, 19 receptions, 314 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns. This is a guy who's drawing comparisons to Saquon Barkley, and with him being a top player in this year's draft. I feel like he is he is a very good player. I feel like he is better than a lot of the guys that are already in the NFL starting for teams. And I'm a huge fan of Bijan Robinson. I feel like just because if running back positional value was valued more heavily, he'd be a top 10 NFL draft pick. Very similar to Saquon Barkley coming out of college, an explosive athlete with great athleticism, who can definitely affect the game with both rushing the ball and receiving. Provides dual dimensions to his game, and big fan of him and the way he plays, and I'm excited to see where he goes. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles will be a great team for him, so watch out for that. Number 2 here, I have quarterback Bryce Young out of Alabama. 2022 season stats: 3,328 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 64.5% completion percentage. These stats are great from a guy who, in the previous year, did win the Heisman Trophy. An incredible player. I feel like his potential is Patrick Mahomes, like with the way he can extend plays and turn huge plays into something that would have resulted in a loss. I feel like he is the best quarterback in this year's draft, and I feel like just because of his height, I feel like if he was taller and maybe had a little bit more weight, he'd be in the Trevor Lawrence discussion for best quarterback since Andrew Luck coming out of college, stuff like that. But I feel like just because of his height, he's going to get knocked down a little bit. But I feel like just because of just his talents, everything like that, I feel like he could become the next Patrick Mahomes. So, Anyways, next to the final one, if you are looking for Will Anderson on this list, here he is. Number 1, I have edge Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. 2022 season stats: 10 sacks, 51 total tackles, and an interception. These stats won't jump off the page, but in the season prior, he had 17 sacks. And teams were often double teaming him at the very least. Sometimes even going to the highest measure of triple teaming him. That just shows how dominant he is. Drawing comparisons to Khalil Mack and Von Miller, that's incredible for a guy like him. I feel like this wasn't as heavy as the quarterback class, maybe like the quarterback class last year when they only had one first-round quarterback, he would be the number 1 overall pick. And my player comparison to him is probably Khalil Mack, just an incredible physical player. And I feel like he could become a future Hall of Famer. I'm a huge fan of Will Anderson and the way he plays. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.